Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of How Grief is Impacting Your Clients. My name is Katie Bressler. I'm a transformative grief guide, licensed counselor, author of the books The New Face of Grief and Giving Birth to Motherhood, and the creator of the Legacy Growth Certification Program. Today, I am joined by Maya Rooz, the Life Curator, and we're going to be talking about her experience as a decluttering coach and hidden grief and how they tend to intersect in a lot of ways. So, Maya, please share a little more about yourself. What do you do? Where do you do it? And who typically comes to work with you?
Hi, Katie. Thank you so much for having me here. It's a real honor to be able to share with you my views on this very important topic. So, I'm Maya. I'm a decluttering coach and a professional organizer. And I help people get clarity on what isn't and is serving them in their home environments so that they can feel empowered to tackle the clutter one day and one room at a time, basically. I'm based in Munich in Germany, but these days most of my clients are actually all over the world. So I work online mainly. And typically people will come to see me when they are so overwhelmed and so suffocated by their clutter that they reach the point where they can no longer ignore it and are committed to take action in this area.
Excellent. So what are some of the key issues about their environment that they're coming to you? Is it literally like a room? Is it all the rooms? Is it particular things? Like what are you finding they're coming to you about?
So usually they will come to me personally when it's a big life transition going on. So either when they're moving house or they're trying to repurpose a space after a big change. So for example, somebody's going from a full-time job in an office to being an entrepreneur and working from home, or their children entering different stages in life or leaving home, a growing family. So any kind of life transitions is what I specialize in.
Oh, that's amazing. And I can imagine the past couple years, the amount of people who are in their home space and going like, it's time for us to change things. It has grown exponentially.
100%, yes. Yeah.
Well, then let's dive a bit into hidden grief because I know it's kind of a topic you and I are both pretty passionate about because we see it in different ways in our work. Now, if you're watching this or listening and you want to know a little bit more about what is this topic, hidden grief, that we're discussing, hidden grief is grief that isn't recognized by society. So it's usually not linked to a death or major loss. It can be things related to health issues, transitions, moves, changes, relationships ending, or having to put boundaries up on relationships, or even transitioning in your life, kind of upgrading who you are, letting go of some old ways and habits. A lot of that still brings grief. Even us facing things from our childhood, that can bring grief too. All of this is hidden grief, and it's letting go of the way we thought life would or should go or believed life to be and starting to accept how it is and learn how to joyfully live in the moment. Okay, Maya, let's dive into what are some areas you're seeing hidden grief show up in your clients' lives.
Oh, okay. So clutter, reveals hidden grief in so many ways, and I can notice it from anything like people holding on to things that are related to the hobbies they no longer pursue, or where I most often see it, and what I'm bringing to this interview today is in people's wardrobes, actually, related to, as you said, health changes. So people who lost a lot of weight but are still hanging on to their old clothes, women who are still hanging on to their maternity clothes even though their children are all grown up and they have no plans of having any more children. And one of my personal favorites, and something that I myself have gone through, even though I am beyond passionate for decluttering, is a career change, actually. So when somebody changes from a very long corporate career, and with wardrobes filled with office attire, and then you suddenly become an entrepreneur and you work from home, or you just wear a different type of clothing, but you hang on to these old clothes because it feels a little bit like a loss of identity, and you're clinging on to that identity and that person who you once were. So this is definitely a big one where I see it most often, probably.
Yeah. It reminds me of the analogy, and I love to use this of like the butterfly, right? The caterpillar, and we always love the idea of transitioning into a butterfly, but we forget that in the cocoon, so much happens in the metamorphosis process that they're no longer the caterpillar anymore, right? Like this insect has changed. And it is the same for us. And we have to grieve and let go of the old identity. And as I've shared in past episodes, but we learn from those. We take stuff with us still. We kind of take a manual of what I learned from that chapter of my life into the next. But I can imagine, this clothing, especially as women, we put our identity in what we wear, right? Like, this is my style, this is who I am, these are my colors. And when it's time to let go of those things and transition into a different phase of our lives, it can bring a lot of grief. You're right. That really is something that I imagine you face without even them realizing sometimes that's what's going on. Like, oh, I got to grieve.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that you don't notice, and a lot of people don't notice. What happens is you open your wardrobe, you suddenly feel like you have nothing to wear, right? But everything you see, your clothes are, every item of that you own is telling a story. And every time you open your wardrobe and you see these, let's say, dresses that you wore when you worked in an office, you're going back there. You're questioning, did I do the right thing, leaving my career? Could I maybe one day go back? Even though you know that even if you did go back to a corporate job 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the line, you'd probably go and buy something new, or it's very unlikely that you would end up wearing the same things. But it tells a story and it speaks to you in a way, but it doesn't actually serve you right now because it's not helping you become the person who you are becoming. It's reminding you of who you're no longer.
This is very true. And I do kind of wonder, sometimes we hold on to things that don't have good emotions around them, and we're afraid to let those go. And that can even be, let's say we were fired from a job, or, we still hold on to these things that remind us of what we would call failures, or when things didn't work out the way we'd hoped or wanted them to. And yet they can be hard to let go of as well. You would think that would be like the first thing we throw in the trash, but in reality, we tend to hold on to those things as well. Very much so.
Yeah. And, you have the butterfly analogy, which I love. And I wanted to introduce a garden analogy, which is,
Please, yeah.
Which is basically, it's like opening a gate to a garden. And instead of seeing flowers, which is the clothes that you could wear now that are helping you see who you want to become, you're seeing weeds. You're seeing the things that shouldn't be there basically anymore.
Oh, I love that analogy. Okay, so we have to let go of the weeds. And that means some hidden grief work. It means facing disappointments, honoring what was, and stepping into what is now. How do you help people make that transition?
Well, if you watch any of the decluttering shows on TV, and sometimes organizers will do this, they will come and they will just be very mechanical about how they do things. And they tell you, oh, just take, get all of your clothes out and just say, keep, sell, donate, trash. It's really not that easy, and it requires so much compassion, so much acknowledgement, empathy. So I work with my clients on painting that picture, working with them to paint that picture for themselves of who it is that they're becoming, and slowly taking themselves through the process of becoming that person, believing that they are that person, because then it's easier to let go of the clothes. So it's doing the inner work first. This is how I approach decluttering, even something as simple as a wardrobe.
And it's empowering because you start to see the butterfly take form. Like, I will be this, but first I have to shed this. I think that's awesome. That is awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, so when it comes to fellow declutterers or coaches that are working with their clients and simplifying their space, what are they lacking in education around grief and hidden grief that, if they had, could really change how they work with their clients?
So organizers are usually extremely, result oriented. You want to go into a person's home, you have 3-4 hours, and your sole purpose, not sole, but your main purpose is to make a transformation as big as possible, to have this big wow effect of before and after. This is what you see in social media, this is what you see on TV. So it's very result oriented. And what happens in reality is that we cannot influence or lead our clients in any way. We cannot tell them what to discard. We cannot direct them. We have to sit with them, with their emotions, and give them the time and the space to go through this process. So the expectations are extremely false when you hire an organizer, because even they make you think like this is something that can be done super fast. But the real change lies in decluttering from within. And this is where I think the education gap is. And this is actually how I got into coaching a year and a half ago, because I help people let go of things before they even grab a donation box or a trash bin.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. When you watch it online, on television, it is a very logical approach and it doesn't address the emotions. But honestly, as a therapist watching these shows, I always see the emotions in the people and how they're like, I don't know, and instead of, hey, let's face what that is and detach it from the item you're holding, it's like, no, make a decision now. And oh gosh. They're going to go back to cluttering. They're going to go back.
Not everybody is like that, of course, but it definitely can feel certainly like that, because you're paying somebody, they're there, and you're like, oh, I better make the most of this. I'm God, do I want to keep? Do I want to go? It's hard. Right. It's hard.
And I do believe that not everybody responds well to like the rip the Band-Aid off approach. And I think what you're talking about of like, we really need to paint the picture first so you know what you're going towards and you're motivated and you desire to, and you learn how to let go of those things along the way. I think that is much more nurturing and a gentle process for those who need that sort of guide versus just a like, okay, let it go, donate. Do this. So.
And sometimes even, coaching cannot help. I have to really recognize if this person is coachable, if they are ready to take action and look forward, or if they're still looking at the reasons behind and going way back into the past, then it is probably more in the realm of therapy or counseling or something more. So there is that effect, that element.
Totally. I mean, in both the work that we do, if you aren't aware of, the phases of change, I mean, if your client is in pre-contemplative stage, they're not even aware there's a problem. They're probably not coming to you, but even contemplative, they can stay there for years of going like, should I don't know. Am I really willing to commit to action? And that phase as a coach or a clinician or a healer is important for us to discern, because this might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't believe we're in the work that we do just to take people's money. I believe that we are businesses that help others, and because of that, we earn an income. But if you're continuing to work with clients and you're seeing like the same negative habits coming back up and the same issues coming back up, then that might mean you're not the right person for them, or they're not ready. And I think we have to hold ourselves to those ethical guidelines of, am I actually helping? Or is this just an income stream that I don't want to get rid of? And those are some tough choices depending on what business you're doing. So yeah, sorry, I totally like pivoted on that, but I think we have to remember those things.
So important, the ethics of it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Maya, if somebody wants to work with you, how do they find you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn as Maya Rooz, and also the Life Curator. I'm on Instagram as the Life Curator, and I have a Facebook group called the Life Curator Club. So that's how people can find me, or through my website, mayarooz.com.
Wonderful. Okay. And my last question I ask everybody, what is the funniest experience you have had as the Life Curator?
I have been trying to think of a funny experience a lot, but if you don't mind, I would rather tell you sort of like a most rewarding experience.
Yeah, of course, go for it.
So I actually, even though I've been passionate about decluttering my entire life, and I put decluttering into everything that I did, even in my corporate job, I did decluttering in my office and made everybody declutter, 250 people declutter. I actually only decided to get into decluttering after going through my own grief process when I lost my dad 4 years ago, and I had a massive burnout at work. While I was recovering, I volunteered at a school and I sorted out over weeks and weeks a basement, which was full of clothes donations, book donations, unclaimed, lost and found items. It was hundreds and hundreds of boxes full of stuff. And I worked there for several weeks underground in winter. It was cold. I was there mainly alone. And at the end of this process, the school was able to deliver winter clothing to over 30 children in an orphanage that they were associated with. And it was just ahead of Christmas. And it just felt so wonderful. And that whole experience helped me heal so much. And the joy that this process brought was so powerful that actually this is how the Life Curator was born.
That is amazing. I just can see you cocooned in those boxes and clothes, and then coming out and going, this is who I am now. Ah, chills. Thank you for that story. And hopefully that inspires others to remember that shifts can be difficult, but sometimes there are certain projects that come into our world for a reason, and they end up being that big pivotal change that we needed. So I loved this. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Maya. This is wonderful. And if you are watching this and you are interested in learning more about hidden grief, I encourage you to go to my website, katierustler.com, and click on the link certification. That's where you will learn about my certification program teaching coaches, clinicians, and healers how to start working with hidden grief, no matter what their skill set level is, so that your clients can start using grief as their greatest tool for growth. Thank you again, Maya, and I will see you all next week.